Welcome back to the Great Conversation. Today, Ben and I are talking about just getting started. Whatever that means for you, your passion. For us, it means family, it means finances, and influence. And that is where we really want to just dive in today and talk about our story, our journey, because it's been a pretty
super fast
journey for us of just getting started, really about just 6 years. We got married 6 years ago, and we were in college.
Yes.
And we were like, well, if we're going to get married, let's just do it. Even though we're still in college, it's going to be, crazy when we graduate.
Trying to find work, trying to figure out what we want to do, where we want to go.
Yeah. So this is our senior year. Let's just get married over Christmas break.
Yeah. We decided that about 6 weeks before we got married. We ended up in Chicago for getting married. At the time, we're going to school down south in Florida, and we basically said, okay, well, we've always wanted to go up to Chicago, spend Christmas there. We had done that. Your family had done that a lot. And so it was just going for it, just finding a church.
So a few weeks later, we found ourselves on the steps of the Presbyterian church outside, not inside the church in the middle of winter.
We just literally showed up. We flew in at like 10 in the morning. We were at the steps at 5 p.m. and just got married. Just had our pastor there, walked up to the steps, and then ended up getting kicked out of the church shortly thereafter for making too much noise during one of their services.
Yeah, man, I love our wedding story.
Yeah, though. It was fantastic.
I mean, just the fact that we flew in that morning separately, my family and me and you.
And my family.
Yeah, we hadn't seen each other yet, and I show up at the hotel to check in. And I'm like, I'm getting married today, and the lady at the check-in desk is like, "You are the calmest bride I have ever met before." Because I was just so excited. And
there's no time to get nervous.
Right, no time to get nervous.
And that's the idea of getting started.
Yeah, we knew each other. We were friends. We had been through a lot together, and we were just ready to start the next phase, the next journey, which meant marriage for us so that we could see, dive into what that meant, family and starting a family.
Yeah, starting to build like our life and our habits together. I think a lot of times when couples are dating and then going to get married, I think there's like this opportunity to continue to get more and more selfish. And what I mean by that is you don't integrate your lives yet.
Right.
And so what happens is you just keep pushing off or pushing further this marriage. And I mean, I've seen it all the time with my friends. I've had friends who've dated somebody for 7 to 10 years and they end up getting married and, possibly having or having not a good marriage. But the thing is, like, you don't really solidify and start to build that deep connection and that relationship and get on a level playing field. You still have your own bank accounts. You still have your own things in life and places of sleep and just whatever else. And
we didn't have that. Literally, we went from a college dorm to living together. So we were already living with people. And it's so true. We hear so many people say to younger people, like, maybe you should just wait and graduate and figure life out on your own. And I do believe that finding independence in yourself and who you are and what you believe as an independent person is super important. But that doesn't necessarily mean you have to live life for years, for a decade or whatever, out of college, trying to figure it out. Like you said, now all of a sudden I have my job with my bank account and my preferences. And this is my house that I've been in for this many years. And so are we going to move into my place or your place? And so for us, we were like, the best thing for us is to jump in right now and start before we graduate and all of a sudden have our own preferences and bank accounts. And, well, this is how I do it in my house. This is how I like my kitchen set up. And so we just blended that faster.
Absolutely. And I just think a lot about like college is kind of an extenuation sometimes of like adolescence, it seems like rather than using that time to define yourself, you're using that time to still kind of goof off and not actually figure out how you want to live, how you want your rhythms of life to go. And so we use college to solidify our own personage. And then when we got married, we're like, okay, we had those 4 years to figure out who we were as individuals. Now let's come together. So I think it's a lot of planning before you get married. Like, how are you going to treat college? How are you going to treat high school? Whatever it might be. And we really chose to use college as a solidifying of ourselves to then move forward in marriage.
Yeah. And so I love that we did it that way. We had, even family members tell us, I don't know if that's exactly the right time. Maybe you should wait. And then we had family members just completely supportive of it. And the fact that we just flew in, got to those steps and just decided to do life together from that point on is such a great memory for me. So I'm so glad we jumped in and just got started then. And then, we finished college and we started our jobs. And we also just were like, okay, let's just jump in. And you started your own business pretty much a year after we had gotten married.
Yeah, basically like we got work. I was working nonprofit, doing graphic design. You became a nurse. And, you know, it was kind of this idea of like, okay, is this how we want to do life? And we really, that's kind of been our motto of like, we always question how we're doing life in a positive way. We're like, okay, this is what each day looks like. Is that what we want it to look like in 2 years or 3 years or 5 years? And really, I love the work I was doing. You liked being a nurse. You liked the challenge, but it was not exactly your favorite thing in the world to do. You're an ER nurse at the time. And it was like, okay, not exactly how I see the next 5 to 10 years going. And so at that point, I thought, and then we had the conversation, okay, well then what can change so that way in 5 years, something can be the way we actually want it to be. And I think that's the whole concept around just getting started, is you have to look at where you want to be in 3 to 5 years and then start and pretend. I always say this, I pretend like I'm already that 3 to 5 year person. And that's really the way I coped with super early mornings when starting my business, and you know, for you being frustrated at that first business getting started because it was different. You know, we'd spend a ton of time in college, and I'd worked 4 days a week at the time, and you'd work 3 days a week being a nurse. And it really just like, we had just tons of time for ourselves. And so all of a sudden it was this switch, but without having the vision of where we wanted to go, it would have felt so futile. Because my business didn't make money for 2 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you made a little bit.
Like 5 cents. Yeah, 5 cents and then like $10 a month.
Yeah.
You know?
And so I definitely think that's something that people need to hear that are young and thinking, okay, should I get started? Is right now the right time? You are not someone who likes to plan. You plan in your head, but then you're all about like, just go. Let's start this. And I'm much more of a planner. And so people like me that just think, okay, maybe I should think about this more. Maybe I should plan it more. If people like me could just be like, okay, you know what? I have to get started because there's going to be a hurdle. There's going to be a learning curve. And I might as well just start learning now.
Yeah, well, like there's not going to be, your plan is not going to go according to plan. Right. Because what happens is you start that thing, and then all of a sudden something you had no idea existed in that specific pursuit. For me, it was developing online sales. You know, for me, I started a YouTube channel, and I started, you know, promoting courses and that stuff of things that I was interested in.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. And,
oh my gosh, that was so...
It was a long ago. Yeah. And now I've become, you know, a tech YouTuber, like reviewing laptops. But there was this whole process of, I tried this and it totally didn't work. It flopped on its face. Nothing happened. But if I just hypothesized for 2 years or 3 years, then we still wouldn't even be anywhere right now. So by getting started, you get to work through the things you didn't even know existed. And so for somebody who maybe is more like you, it's like, get started because your plan is just going to fall apart most likely. Yeah. And the sooner your plan falls apart, the better, because then you have lessons learned.
Yeah. And I do think, you know, something that maybe our viewers would want to know is that you really jumped in and got started on your business. What was your business at the very beginning? Because I said I wanted to start a family, that I didn't want to do nursing forever. That
the catalyst.
Yeah, you had that drive and that pain inside of you that was like, I have to get up at 4 o'clock this morning and start working on my business before I go to my day job. And you were doing that every day.
Yeah.
And I have to do this because Annabelle wants to stop nursing. She wants to start having children. She wants to be at home. Yeah. And that is what was inside of you pushing you. And so for anybody that has something that they want to do, a business or start a family or whatever it is, they have to find that pain inside of themselves of not doing it. Is that more painful than doing it? And you would say that all the time. Like, it's painful to get up at 4. It's painful to not just stay in bed in the morning with you. It's painful because I'm tired.
It's painful that you're upset at me for not staying in bed with you.
I would get so upset because I didn't understand, you know, I knew that I wanted to quit nursing, but you saw more of the long term of like what that meant.
How that could actually transpire.
Right. Because I mean, I came from a medical family, my dad being a physician, my mom's a nurse. I went to school for nursing. You go to a job.
And that's how you make more money.
If you want to make more money, you just work more, you know, or you get more education. You don't get up at 4 to work on
the computer,
for something that doesn't seem like it's going anywhere.
Yeah.
And so I started to get angry. I started to just really close myself off from you. Yeah. And getting frustrated and you would try to explain it, but obviously being male and female is a little bit of a
and I'm
communication
I'm a pretty bad explainer in general.
Yeah, and so I didn't understand. And so you always had that drive inside of you, that pain point of I'm doing this because Annabelle wants this. And it was
But the funniest thing is like, even though I could say that to myself, in the physical, tangible moment, you didn't want it. So that's the thing, like if, like I'll talk to like you guys for a second, like if the person, your spouse, your partner, you know what they really want in the long term, but they don't see the vision in the short term, you have to remember the long term and just pray and that they would work their way through seeing that you are looking out for their future and for your future, because that's what I had to do. I had to literally I had to put aside her frustration and how that would affect me emotionally to know that in 3 years, she would look back and go, oh my gosh, that's what you were doing?
Yeah.
And I knew because other people had done it ahead of me. I was learning from other people how to start a YouTube channel and how to grow an audience and how to get followers and make sales and money. And so I was like, I know this is possible, but she didn't see it. And so I had to kind of ignore, but still love on and okay, maybe not ignore. You maybe talk through it a little more.
Yeah, we talked through it. I remember being in the car one specific day and I was like, if this is our future, like, I don't know if I want to be a part of it.
Yes. And I said, no, it's not. This is just, how do we get to our future?
Yeah. And so there was some communication that had to happen. It wasn't like you just
a lot of times because I struggle at communication.
Yeah, but I remember this one big conversation and you helped me understand some things, but then we also kind of compromised a little bit because you were up at 4 like every single morning. And I don't think it happened in that moment, but we did talk about how in the near future you would start sleeping in a little bit more.
Yeah, I said, okay, right now I'm getting up at 4. But I promise at this date, I'll make it 5 or something. Because the problem was not only did I get up at 4, but I would go to bed at like 8:30 or 9.
Yeah.
So,
or if you didn't go to bed at 8:30 or 9.
I'd be like sleeping through movies and on the couch.
Or just annoyed that we were still out hanging with friends.
Oh yeah, I was super grumpy because I was like, I have to get up in the morning.
Yeah. And so, you know, not everyone has a spouse that they're trying to please in that way, but maybe
you mean you or me?
People that maybe just don't have a partner at the time.
Yeah, true,
like
true.
Maybe they have to, you know, close off some time with friends.
With friends, yeah.
And
we
essentially like didn't do anything with friends.
Yeah, we had like no friends for about 3 years.
For a while because it was like work.
Yeah.
And so a year after you started your business, then we had our first baby.
Yeah. And at that point, it was just enough to like allow you to quit.
I was fully planning on going back to nursing after maternity leave.
Yep.
Like we had talked about it. I had told everybody at work, yes, I'm coming back. They were like, are you sure you're coming back? You really seem like you want to be a mom, Annabelle. And I was like, no, I know I need to come back. It's going to be the best for our family. I'm coming back. And one day shy of 2 weeks before I had to go back, I called my manager and said, I can't come back.
I'm not coming back.
I'm not coming back. And so I actually did have to go in and work one day because it wasn't that 2 week and I just wanted to like have that good rapport.
Good standing, yeah.
But I just begged you.
Yep.
I was like, Ben, I know we don't have enough money, but please, can I stay home?
Yep.
Please. I'll do anything. Like I won't buy anything that is not necessary. We'll just buy the basics. And you said yes. And it was hard.
It was. It was. And we also like, at that point, actually, my business was not making enough. And so I said, okay, you can quit. I said, but we got to do something else. We actually started teaching English as a second language.
Yeah.
Both of us.
Yep.
So I had my full time.
So I could have some spending money.
So you could have some spending money. I was teaching English as a second language, and you were, and I was trying to continue to build that business.
Yeah.
And so that was crazy. That was even earlier mornings sometimes.
Yeah.
So.
Early mornings and just a lot of work. I mean, at that point, you were working for a company that just sucked the life out of you.
Yeah.
I mean, you weren't enjoying it. You had left the mission organization to go work for this company.
Because I hoped it would help me develop more marketing and advertising skills.
Right, because that's what the job title was, and you ended up just essentially being a secretary.
Yeah,
it wasn't even, you weren't making them happy. You were like not...
I was like glorified.
You're like, I am not a detail-oriented person, and I am a secretary.
Yeah, it was rough.
And and you essentially stopped working on your business at the time.
For about 6 months.
You didn't have the time.
Yeah.
And so that was a really rough patch. And I just want to encourage people that just because you start something and you just do it does not mean it's going to just be uphill or downhill. It's not always going to just be great right away.
Yes.
There's going to be rough patches. And I know people hear that all the time, but I think what we hear more than anything we used to hear it all the time, all these successful business owners, is it just happened.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't know what happened, but it just happened. And we're like, what does that mean? Because
what did just all of a sudden I just woke up and I had $1 million in my bank account.
Yeah.
And that didn't make sense to us.
It didn't, because you were just on this road of like working and working and working, and it wasn't just happening. And it didn't even seem like that was anything in the near future of just happening.
Yeah.
And so there were some rough patches, and like, thank goodness you stopped working for that one company.
Yeah.
And we went all in on a different company from home that really allowed you to start back at like, okay, I'm going to do this again. I am going to have financial freedom. And the journey is, we're getting back on track right now.
We got off track for over 6 months, I would say, just because of kind of like we tried something. I think that's the biggest thing is like, sometimes you'll be on your track and you'll see something else and you try it. I think that's totally fine. Like, I think you should sample. Like, what if what you're doing isn't actually the thing that will take you to where you want to go? And that's why I jumped in with another business that I saw, okay, these guys know what they're doing. I need to kind of come alongside them and learn from them. But it didn't work out, and it didn't work. But the thing is, like, what was cool is I went back to the thing that I saw was working and had potential. Yeah. And I just think a lot of times, like, we don't often see the thing that we can do every single day to make a 1% difference in our lives.
Oh, yeah. You always say that. 1% better. 1% better.
Like, what is something you can do every single day? Whether you're in real estate or whether you're, that would probably be my biggest example, because if you're in real estate, can you call 10 people a day? Can you go to a coffee shop and hand out 10 business cards a day? For me, it was posting YouTube videos. Can I post a YouTube video every single day that is slightly better?
1% better.
To get me to my goal. And that's the thing is, like, I don't know what business people are in or what they're wanting to do, but is there something in that business model that you can do every single day that will push the needle forward? And in 5 years, you can be there. So if you're working a full-time job, is there something that only takes an hour to 2 hours a morning or an evening you can do every single day that pushes the needle forward? That's the thing you should be doing.
And we do see that. I mean, we see so many people that would say, it just happened. It just happened. And we hear that, but then we would actually look at their journey and we'd be like, oh, you mean it just happened?
It didn't happen for a decade.
Well, not even, no, it wasn't a decade. Like, we would say it was 5 years. We saw like this
5 years was kind of the pattern.
It was the pattern. And it didn't mean that they were like killing it at 5 years. It just means that finally at 5 years, we saw a pattern of those people were finally making enough to have financial freedom.
They caught some traction.
Yeah, at 5 years. And so you always say, like, if I had known when I started that it was going to be 5 years before I actually got traction, I probably wouldn't have done it.
Probably wouldn't have started, yeah.
And so I think that's why a lot of business, what are they called? Like business coaches. They don't want to tell you that. They want to say right now, like, let me give you all of my secrets right now so that you can start your business now and skip all of that, all that I had to struggle through. They don't say that it was like maybe 5 years. They just say all that I struggled through, but you don't have to do that. You can start now and start making money now. And we've taken a few business courses, and every time we're like, okay, yeah, we can do all that, but it's going to take time. It's still going to take time because your mistakes aren't necessarily going to be the same as my mistakes. The platform's different now, which is what we see a lot. Platforms are always changing. Always evolving, always changing. So a course often is like already out of date, even if it just came out.
Let me bring that full circle. Like what we saw as far as like the how to get rich gurus, what would happen is they weren't wrong.
Right.
They're not wrong. They have good information. The problem is the game changes every 2 to 5 years. And so the information that you're trying, that's how they won. And now it's slightly different. Can you take concepts from what they did?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, which is why I think books are the ultimate form of learning, because they have to write things in more of a timeless manner than they do more of a, with a course, it's like here's how it worked today, but it was actually here's how it worked 3 years ago. Right. So what you're getting is you're getting old tactics that are actually out of date of the algorithm, usually. So my point in saying that is you have to just put in the work. You literally have to just grind out, find what works, keep testing, keep elaborating, changing, shifting, and just push things forward.
Right. And kind of patch new information together on your own.
Yes, patch everything to make something new.
Yeah, so do take concepts from those business courses.
Yes.
And business courses, they have a lot of concepts that are helpful, that don't go out of date.
Yes.
But then a lot of their concepts of like how to use a platform, they do go out of date. And so not everyone is just going to be successful and make money right away. Yeah, well, it's still going to take time.
I mean, look at we bought one, and literally a month after we bought a course, the algorithm on Instagram completely changed. Yeah. And so all of her concepts didn't work. Like literally, like it was working.
All of the tactics.
The tactics, yeah. And then like it just stopped.
Because her concepts were still really good.
Super
about
great.
How to present information.
Yes.
And so for people that do want courses in that way, but bring it again back to like why just get started right now is because
you got to work through those.
If the platform's always changing, like you gotta get in and you gotta start figuring out how to talk to your audience, who your audience even is. Yeah. If that's like, you know, what people are wanting to just get started on. We're talking a lot about business right now, but if it's family or whatever, we are very much of the concept of like just get going. Yeah. I mean, we had 4 kids.
We can shift it there to family and children.
Right. So kind of back to where it started. When I graduated college, I was like, yeah, I want to have a family, but I didn't really know when. We're planners, but we're not like planners in the sense of like, this is when we're going to have kids and we're going to be at this age and blah, blah, blah. Like we're kind of just like, yeah, let's do it now. And we'll plan for like all the things that are going to happen in the midst of that thing that we're taking initiative on.
Yes.
So graduating, getting jobs, and then when you weren't making a ton of money, I was like, well, how about I go back and get my master's and be a nurse practitioner? And started that and was like, and this really goes to the whole idea of like, just try something. Like, don't be afraid to just try it.
Yeah, you tried a lot of different things.
Enrolled at University of Cincinnati, like started school, finished a whole semester.
And then started the next semester.
And then started the next semester. And that's when I was like, you know, I just don't think this is what I really want to do. I'm just really not connecting with this.
And that was, and let's be real, numbers. That was what, like $9,000?
Yeah, something, because it was online.
Yeah, but still, I mean, people are like, oh my gosh, that's such a waste. It's not a waste at all.
No, because I learned that.
Because you learned that you didn't want to do that. Yeah. And if you would have gone through that whole program and then became it and then felt like you had to do it forever, that's a waste.
Yeah.
And like, I don't want to encourage people to just
not even a waste.
Spend or waste money, but like, sometimes you have to try it.
Yeah.
Or else it's just this idea. It's this. It's like this idea porn, may I say, like where you just like have this fantasy of what it might be, how it's gonna feel when you do it, but then you never do it, so you always are struggling through this. But I could do that thing, and then that thing is so perfect, and then if you would just do it, you'd be like, wow, that thing actually sucks.
Yeah, right. Because so many people, I think,
or it's great. Yeah,
because I told people, you know, obviously my dad being a physician was super excited for me to start the program, and he was like, this is gonna be great for your family financially.
Is that a high five?
Oh sure. Yeah. I know I talk with my hands a lot.
I'm just playing.
And so I started it, decided that's not what I want to do. If I had finished, like great, I would have had that under my belt. Yeah. But I think sometimes people are scared to start because they know that they might quit. And the pride of like, man, I told all these people that I was doing this. Are they going to think that I just like failed the program? Are they going to think that we just didn't have the money? Like, what are they going to think? And we just have to get over that. We have to, if this is what you think you want to do, try it, go for it. Yeah. Don't like care what other people are thinking or saying if you do start it or quit or whatever. Yeah. If you feel like you want to try it, go for it. And if you feel like in the midst of it, this is not the way that I want life to go, then stop. And I'm not promoting quitting, like finish something, but I had, you know, I knew my personality. I knew I wasn't a quitter. And we had talked about that because I was like, I can't quit. I'm not a quitter. And you're like, Annabelle, don't just do this because you're not a quitter. Like if this is not the path you want to go down, then don't go down it.
Well, let's bring it full circle because you love the medical field, but you realize you don't like the medicine. You don't like the
I'm much more holistic.
Yeah. So, but what did you end up doing? You ended up becoming a certified doula and building your entire own birth course, your entire company around birth because you are passionate about birth. Right. You're passionate about families and babies. And so you said, okay, that wasn't the avenue, but wow, I'm
because
doing
I still love medical. I still love research.
And you did it. So the point is you didn't quit.
Right.
You saw that was wrong and pivoted to what you loved about health. Right. And bringing life into this world.
Right. And so, it was just a very different avenue, but still very much with the human body and medicine and helping people because I love to help people in that way. Yeah. And so after I stopped with my master's, then I was like, well, I do have a creative side.
You started a photo business.
Let's try photography because I've always liked photography. Tried that, had a few clients, and then was just like, yeah, I don't know if this is like really for me.
And then that's the camera I took and started upped my YouTube game quality with your camera.
Yeah.
Because I was filming on some crappy camera.
Yeah. So now I just take pictures of family and I'm happy with that. I don't need clients.
Yeah.
And because we have really learned about ourselves that getting clients is so hard. Like any type of business where you have to go out and get clients is just a lot of work. Yeah. And we would rather work on the quality of our craft instead of spending all of our time just trying to find a client.
Yep.
And so photography just wasn't it for me.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like you said, then after I had a baby, I was like, oh my goodness, I love birth so much and I want to educate more women on this. And so let's bring my health information and knowledge into this, and let's bring my birth experience into this. And I've taken some business courses, so let's bring that in.
Oh yeah, you took a business course?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been kind of all over
You've
the place.
You've been all over. I've been pretty steady and true.
Yeah, you've been very true to
my objective.
Yeah. And so I'm much more of the one, I think, encouraging people to like, just try different things. And you're like, just start it and do it.
I would say the fine balance between that is I know that I love to make videos.
Yes.
And so from day one, after, one of my coworkers walked in my office and said, you should start trying this YouTube thing, I grew up loving photography. I grew up loving making videos. I just made videos for fun throughout college. And so as soon as I started getting behind the camera, I was like, I love this. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm gonna make this work because this is fun and I enjoy this. Like, that's why we started this. If you are one of 5 people watching, my heart is happy because I just love to make videos and encourage people and help people and just help them find the information they need. And so that's my thing, is like, that's why I've been so tried and true. I'm not just this like stupid hit your head against a brick wall person. I kind of am. But like, I just
You're so smart.
Found something I love and I made a way for it to work.
Yeah.
And that's really what it boils down to. And that's where creativity comes. Rich Dad, Poor Dad had that concept. Robert Kiyosaki, he says, if you run into a situation where you don't have money or you just can't just go to a job to get money, you will find a way to take what you know and turn it into a profitable thing.
Yeah.
And that is the secret to a lot of successful entrepreneurs and business owners, is they knew that they didn't thrive in a job. And so they found a creative way to develop revenue and income.
Yeah. Because nobody can take that away from them. Mm-mm. You might be able to take the money away in some way.
But you can't take away the drive, the books of learning. We're still reading through the great books and all of the elements and all the pieces outside of Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever. Outside
of
that,
the accent.
Alzheimer's. Yeah. Outside of that, it can't be taken away from you.
Yeah.
And that is why we so believe in reading the great books and doing things along those lines. But now we go to children.
Yeah.
So we got our first child just over a year. About a year and a half after we got married, right?
So we got married December 2015, and Bingley was born in 2018, August.
Okay.
So yeah.
So about two years. Yeah, just about 2 years. Year and a half, 2 years.
And oh my goodness,
Were we ready for that? No.
I mean, no. Financially,
nope. Not at all.
Nope. But we just jumped in. We were ready to start.
Yep.
And biggest blessing.
Yeah.
And then when he turned 1. We were like, yeah, let's have another one.
Child.
So from August till the next May, then we had our second, Pennington.
Yep.
And then before he even had his first birthday, we were like, yeah, let's go ahead and have another.
Was it really
we love
bad?
this.
Oh my gosh.
And guess what?
And now we have twins.
The doctor was like, yep, you got 2 in there.
So we have 4 children under 4.
Yeah.
And we still have like 6 months till our 3-year-old turns 4. So it's like way under 4.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So crazy. 4 kids. Businesses, full-time job.
Yep. Starting this and just trying to enjoy this with you guys and have a conversation.
I mean, talk about like we just went for it.
Yeah.
We're not even 30.
Yep.
We're coming up, but we're not even 30 and we just started.
Yeah, and the funny thing is like we have a group of friends. It's not a massive group of friends, but we really prioritize.
We're not like the most popular people in the world.
No, we really prioritize like rest. And so the funny thing is like as crazy as all these things, as I say, all that we do in a week, as crazy as it sounds, we take every single Saturday off and we have no phones. We have no work that we do. Yep. We just rest. We sleep in. We have a big brunch with food and just hang out with our family. Yeah. And
our boys just get to like pick all this fun. We love to do cheeses for breakfast and homemade bread and
dried
different
fruit
spreads and Bingley and Pennington love to just like stand at the bar and help you get ready and our Saturday is amazing. And that is really because we have completely eliminated the word busy from our house. We are not busy people.
No, we choose what we do. Mm-hmm. And if you're busy, it's because life has taken over you. And and I've been there, and that's such a horrible feeling. And so for me, it was, okay, I have to reevaluate why I feel busy. I have to reevaluate why I feel like life is running me over.
Yeah. I think it's so easy to do.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's always something that we could do, right? Uh-huh. There's people asking us if we want to come to this event or hang out on this day. And do we want to volunteer for this thing or whatever? And we have to say no a lot. Yeah. We do. Because we have said yes to so many big things. Because we've said yes
to a lot. And we know the goal. Like, we know how we want to make an impact and an influence. You know, we're involved a lot with, like, the pregnancy center. And we want to put our financial resources and our physical resources in that entity. Mm-hmm. You know, I think about just being at church, being with our family. Our family is something that gets a huge amount of our free time. Mm-hmm. And so it's just really choosing what we have wanted to and agreed upon that we value. I don't have really much guy time. I have friends that I talk to on the phone a lot. And I have a business partner he's kind of a business partner. We do business together, that we do a lot together, but he doesn't live here. He lives in the UK. So
we do a lot together. Over FaceTime.
Over video. So we do a lot of content together, and that's a friend that I have. But yeah, it's like we've really prioritized time together because that's how we want to do life.
Right.
If somebody else wants a lot of friend time, they want to have kind of their guy friends, and the wife wants to have her girlfriends, and they love that, you've nailed it. Then you're not too busy. Yeah. You're doing exactly what you want to do. Yeah. But if that's running over you, stop, reevaluate, make a change, and get after what you want to do.
I mean, yes, we should serve people and be giving, but life is too short to spend all of our time doing stuff that we don't like doing. Yeah. That we come home and say, man, that didn't happen the way I wanted it to happen, or I didn't really enjoy doing that today or spending time with those people.
Yeah, if you're serving and your attitude in service is frustration,
then it's not service.
Reevaluate. Yeah. Find a service that you feel like you're really pouring your heart in a positive way into.
And like you said, spending time with our family is kind of a service because sometimes we don't really want to. Sometimes we just want to chill and be here, but we know that, like, investing in that relationship, or, you know, a lot of times you ask, hey, can we have some friends over and, like, have dinner and everything? And I'm like, man, this is going to be a lot of work. But then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have fun and it's going to be great. And so what if it's work? But just really eliminating things that suck life out of us and don't give us anything back. Because relationships pretty much always give back if they're good relationships.
Yes. But it takes time to find those good relationships. I think that's one thing that we found. We moved about a year ago now. And, you know, finding those relationships took effort. It took a risk of a handshake, a risk of, hey, you want to come over, and seeing how that interaction takes place. And so there, you know, there's like, just like we said with your, you know, going to college or going back to getting your master's, you have to sample, relationships and friendships and see which ones are life-giving and which ones are not a good fit.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are so excited to see what happens essentially in the next decade of our life together. And we're just so glad that we just started and just went for it with so many different things. And it's been a huge blessing. I think so many times we're scared as people, like, if we do this, if we jump in and start this thing,
this is life forever.
Yeah, especially with kids. Like, you don't go back.
That's one thing you don't go back on.
You don't go back. Sure. And but children are so life-giving. And we have a lot of friends that are our age that don't have kids yet or just starting. And we think sometimes, did they really want this, or was it just kind of something they felt like they needed to do? And if that's the case, we're like, man, I don't know if people should really have kids if they're just doing it because it feels like the next step. Yeah. Children should be something that's like, this is forever. They're going to be a part of this team, and we're going to do life. We're going to love it. They're going to be a part of everything. Yeah. You're going to teach them everything you know as a dad and as a business owner, and I'm going to teach them everything I know as a mom and a homemaker and also some business.
Yeah, I was about to say a co-business owner full, you know, you got your stuff.
Yeah. And like, that's what we want. We want it to be a team effort. Yeah. And we definitely have a lot on our plate.
For sure.
But it's definitely worth it because life moves forward. Even if we think, okay, if we segment it out,
And that's why you got to get started more than anything.
Yeah.
Because life goes. Yeah. Whether you're wanted to or not, we've started this, and by the time we finish this, the clock will be farther.
Yeah.
And that's why it's like, that's the biggest motivation to me is every time I wake up in the morning, it's so funny. I heard her name is Mel Robinson. She said when her alarm goes off at 4:45, she literally counts down like mission control. She says 5, 4, 3, 2, and when she hits 1, she puts her feet on the floor. And I literally do that most mornings because I don't want to get up.
Yeah.
I don't want to get up at 4:45. But I say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and my feet hit the floor and I go because I know that time goes by. I know that every snooze button is 15 minutes that I'm not pushing forward what our vision is for life and what we agreed upon that we want to do together. We are either going to spend our lives building somebody else's dream or building our own.
Yeah.
And that is what gets me out of bed.
Right.
Because anything we start from here, we know what starting feels like. Right. So even if we start something brand new today, we still know that, oh, this is just the starting feeling. And we know what the yielding feels like.
The what?
The yielding. When you plant. So you plant, it's terrible. You're putting seed into the ground.
We should probably start this section.
You're washing it. You're grinding through, getting the seed in the dark. Whatever. But my point is, like, you're getting started, and that is the toil. And if you know what the yield feels like.
See, this is a real conversation.
I know. But if you know what the yield feels like, then during the start, you're not overwhelmed of like, oh, is this even going to happen? Because you've had a win.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's my point. Because like one of our businesses that we're working on right now has not had a big win. But like we know it's coming because we know that struggle and that fight, it comes before the yield.
Yep.
The yield.
For the harvest.
The harvest.
I mean, you can call it a yield. I just don't know if anybody's going to know what that means.
And it's hard to hear the word anyway. You're right. The harvest. Okay.
So we've talked a lot.
We
have really told a lot about our story, hoping that it really resonates with someone. And everyone has their own story. Everybody has the way that they do it. Some people get started a little bit later. We obviously jumped in pretty quick, pretty young. Some people really start even younger. I mean,
oh my gosh, there's some people I'm like, are you serious?
They're like 12.
Yeah, and they like write a code for this insane software, and then they like are a billionaire by the time they're 15.
Yeah,
there's a couple stories out there, and I'm just like,
but
that makes me feel terrible.
Yeah, but I don't think a lot of people really connect with that because it's so out of reach for so many people, or it feels out of reach. And so our encouragement with our story and this conversation is to just start. Whatever your dream is, whatever your next big step that you think you're going to take, but you're just hesitating, just jump in. And have a plan, have kind of a trajectory somewhere you think you're going. I mean, like, we're not just saying be blind about it, but if you have planned it all and you know that this is something that you want to try, then try it. Whether it is finances, if it's family, if it's some sort of influence that you want to have in your community or online for the world, writing a book or starting a podcast or starting a business, opening a coffee shop in your community. Whatever it is, we all have such unique gifts and abilities, and being able to share that, somebody is waiting for you to just start.
Yes. You're going to unwrap things as you're going along, and you're going to see that, okay, this was just the start. It truly was just the start. All of a sudden I heard this one thing or listened to this one podcast, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can do that too. So the thing is, like, the start is literally just the beginning. So hit it, get after it, and make it happen.
If you've made it this far, thanks for watching. We really just have enjoyed this conversation and sharing what we have experienced with you. Make sure you check back in for our next episode, where we're going to talk about the difference between living out your story versus just living in an experience that you've had. So make sure that you tune back in next week. Absolutely. We'll see you then.
See y'all then.
And amazingly, you have traction now, and we're experiencing financial freedom because you started that before
5 years ago.
You had any guarantee that we were going to have that in a few years.
Yeah.
And I'm just so thankful that even against my resistance.
Yeah. Even against your immediate desires in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I wanted some stuff, and I wanted my husband in bed with me every morning, and it felt uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I am so glad that the beginning uncomfortable is out of the way now. Of course, we're going to have hurdles, and we're going to have other uncomfortable moments.
But that starting is the most painful.
And like, it's out of the way. It's done.
Yeah.
We have that's in the bag, it's done with.